I want to squeeze in the middle, but I don't wreck your vehicles. I know this can get touchy. Man, I appreciate you, man. Respect.
What's up, man?
Yo, we got questions today.
All right, what's up?
I saw, first off, you guys were on the sidewalk, and I never see you guys on the sidewalk. So big congratulations. That was really cool. There was you guys and then another guy who was holding like a folder, and you guys were leaving like the school over there. Recently on schools, I saw that there's these teachers and they drink at school, and there was like this other teacher, she had drugs inside of the school bathroom. So it's online, and you guys like went in, and that's really cool because you guys are handling your business.
No, appreciate it.
But second off, were you aware of what I just said? This is what teachers are doing nowadays.
What, drinking in school?
Drinking on their way to school and hiding drugs inside their bathroom above the lights.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea for them to be doing that.
All right,
we
cool.
got SRO Alphonse in schools handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know. I'll be checking the papers. But hey, do you guys have any donuts?
No, I wish.
All right, yeah, that was icebreaker. I should have used earlier.
That's a good icebreaker.
Everyone loves donuts, not just cops.
All right, so let's talk about these mailboxes.
10 for myself.
These mailboxes are, if you tamper with a mailbox, it's a...
You gotta go to the call button.
Damn. Backup?
Yeah, it's 2-person.
You guys need backup.
Yep. All right, man. If you have one question,
These mailboxes, they're felonies if you break one, right?
I just stop by the PD.
But no, Einstein was a patent clerk, and so it's no surprise that he thought up a model of like a commonplace item, a refrigerator, and then he drew up his patent to like solidify this is the way that I view it is. And so when it comes to these properties, it just was like mind-boggling to me how much something is that under a jurisdiction and it shouldn't be. So like a mailbox, if you hit it with a car or tamper with it, that's a felony because the mailbox is like all important. If you hit a sign and you kick it, like that isn't as important as a mailbox, but it could be looked at as damaging property. And so they would be asking, do you want to press charges? And so this is this whole thing where like they take court in the street. And so like they decide who they're going to pass the case off to once you're like being brought down to the jailhouse. And so this is, I'm not sure yet, but this is where the detectives get involved and they hash out the circumstance. And this is why the DAs, like this grace between them with the situation going on. Are you a high profile person? This is why there's person of interest. And back in the olden days, this is where I left out. It was like these people who are well off in town, they know like the chancellors, the mayors, the judges. So if you got in trouble and like you're well off and doing enough dirt where it's profitable, like they would give you to the certain judge who would give you like a slap on the wrist and then drop it. And that's how important it is with, in the 50s, the saving your name and the abuse of like women and kids. How like a lot of people got off doing that just because of their own namesake. And I don't want to describe like what a school zone is and then what a monument is, because if you commit a crime on there, it's like 2 times. And they always have like this letter beside your name with how many like times you've committed like the offense. The degree that they want to charge you with is like kind of a degree of certainty with how they viewed it. So that's just like another side mark on this scaling system. But it's like with this cop, he said you can jump off your car, you can do whatever you want on your car because it's yours. And so like it's this giant divide of the property's ownership. This is a giant divide. And with what that might mean in public. Especially because when it comes to things that are overhangs, like a tree inside of a neighbor's yard or like an overhang from a sign that is like on a sidewalk basically. And that's why it was fascinating to me, like this giant divide of what runoff is, because like you're not supposed to spit on graves, but if like you spit on a grave and the water runs off and it leaches into it, it's like technically you did spit in it. And so that's like important not to, because spit's a deadly weapon and you don't want a deadly weapon on someone's property like a grave, tombstone. And I know this is being facetious again, but this is actually like things that they don't consider or things that they do consider. The color of law and its flavors. And I know I was being facetious when I said a First Amendment is the same, even if you're holding up a rock and talking to it. No, but a lot of people do have pet rocks. It's just these weathermen or women. You think that like it's so fantastic how they know when it's gonna rain or not, and it's just all like, I'm guessing they always emphasize low pressure, high pressure, and they pan out the picture. So it's just, if you know one or two steps with how they determine rain, that's really all that matters in the grand scheme of things. You can wear like a scarf to keep warm, but then if you start sweating with the scarf, just put it around your waist. Now it's a sachet, it's not make or break a day, but rain could very easily, because you don't want to get wet feet and be outside. It's very unpleasant, one of the most unpleasant things. And so it's just, I was drawing this parallel between what's a function machine and then stretching out two large regions to justify, so like the sky and then water, with what sonic booms are achieved from two types of things. One's the animal, this like crab does it, or it's a shellfish, one or the other. We all know that crabs are an extension of shellfish. Let's not be facetious twice. But this crab zoology, that's Darwin. And then anything like mechanical, that's Einstein, because he wanted to make a refrigerator. He drew up a blueprint where he had one. And so with what an airplane is, if you look at aside the nuts and bolts and flesh out the nooks and crannies, an engine is very similar to what goes on inside of a refrigerator. They're both ran by one. And so they cross the planes of these things. When I'm saying like a lens is offensive on a camera, despite it having a recorder of audio, it's the same thing. You look at like an imagery of how lensing works, and like there's this thing back there I wanted to show. It's just like this special illusion effect, and it has like not a whole bunch of properties behind it, but you can just tell is like the fundamentals of what a lens can do. And so applying that across the board, you start seeing what a function machine is, to not get it confused of the two planes that you're trying to say coexist. And there's a point where if you don't mention these things, it's really hard to talk about the law and not being lawlessness. But it's with these like simple malfunctions and what a tabulation might be. There's a guy, the only guy I never even knew about this was, there was a star chamber, and it was opened up in the White House, and this prestigious thing where you get guys with guns to stand at the door and you hold like this secret council. Occult AF. But nonetheless, there was this guy, he opened that star chamber, Adam Schiff, and so it is, to me, distasteful, but he opened it over rhetoric. But not for nothing, his tabulation he was down in getting voted in or out of his current position. This was years after the matter. And then he, of course, was losing by 1 million votes. And so they stopped the counting, and they said they've got an error in a tabulation. So they fixed the tabulation. And within a wink of an eye, he now has above 1 million votes. And so the countings of one to the other is this function machine in the middle, where they're saying that this machine is something that is, well, only the people who are running the machine, who have the machine, have any say in it. And so this isn't the first time this happened in something that's wrong. We've got Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook saying just because all the tabulations haven't been read the day of doesn't mean that it makes anything less qualified than having to wait a week or a month for the exact results. When you're defaming like what a computer is, it's supposed to be quick, but it's this whole grace period where there was problems with what a problem is in the air of tabulations when a water main breaks and everyone has to leave, when the Sharpie isn't the right color, so they have to switch out the Sharpies. And so they've got like this grace period where they say it's tabulation error, and then all of a sudden it's the people who are classically corrupt are now ahead off of the air, and it leaves you to wonder why. Boeing 7 airplanes, I don't know, it's like this household name like Microsoft or Apple, how they're like the top dogs of the computer industry. But no, with the Boeing airplanes, it was nowadays where these DoD inspectors are seeing like how all these people who are making the Boeing airplanes are making it with materials that are so cheap, and it's been seen where it's been with soap and credit cards from hotels where they're using it to fix them. And it's not like it's bad, but it's just bad if they're saying that they wouldn't fly in it because it's so cheap. There's shoestrings that can be used as a fan belt in a car, so this is the same alignment, and it just grabs people's ears because that's as closely as you can relate something that we all know into something that is extravagant. So that's what's going on with them. And so the equalization is where, like, if there is a God, if you put stuff in place to where everyone knows. And so when there's like this sonic boom that airplanes go with the jet engines are huge. And so if you put a jet engine on a skateboard, isn't that funny? But no, with underwater, there's these like fish and they clap really hard and they make like this sound underwater that makes a clap and an air bubble that shocks the other fishes to get paralyzed. And that's equivalent to like how in the air when you achieve like a sonic boom you break the sound barrier. And like there's this giant like picture of like, actually it looks like an electron orbital where it's this region where there's like a break in the barrier, so like a gear shift almost. And so if you're just aligning like underwater to in the atmosphere, it's like these two things that correlate perfectly, and it's where you draw like point A to point B, and it is like a function machine. To wrap your head around that, anyone with half of a brain knows that yarn is not the same as thread. But then what are threads? Threads in computer science are text. Actually, excuse me, correct that. It's a string. A string is text in computer science. A thread is something where I learned this on Facebook. I learned what DMs are way too late. It was something so obvious. It's just everyone's using it in the cybernetic nomenclature that I thought it was more significant. No, but a thread has fallen into the same category. I had no idea until way late in the game. So a thread is like when you write something and then someone responds, but on the same, like not on the under comment, but inside of the box of a comment. And this is like such a big thing. It's like no different